Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast Midweek Mashup. I am joined here tonight by M, the return of M, and Randy coming back for a second week in a row from Back Sports Page. Thank you, Randy, for hopping on once again.
Thanks for
How are
having me.
you guys doing? How are you guys? Before we get into AEW talk, I just want to ask, how are you guys doing during this time of quarantine? How are you guys handling this, M?
Um, Trying to hang in there, man. You have your days where you're all right, you're working out, you're having fun, and then you have your days where you don't want to get out of your bed, and it can be a bit excruciating. Today is a good day. There was wrestling on TV, wrestling I actually like, and it was live. So I'm particularly happy, and I went outside. So that's always something good to not dwell that. I don't even know how to put it into words. It was outside, and there was rain, and it was crazy. So yeah, today's a good day.
Randy, how about you? How you doing with all this going on?
I'm doing good. I actually find myself now busier now than I was when we were normal. But it certainly puts a lot of different things in perspective, and catching up on a little bit of TV, and like Em just said, it's good to see some live wrestling back again, and something stuff that's not being done from a performance center where you see a ceiling fan going in the background. AEW really found a way to, and Em and I talk about this all the time. It's such a breath of fresh air. So when it's on, you get very, very excited. And one of the kids here, we watch AEW every single morning, and we're going back and watching all the old Dynamites. And we're all just waiting to get back to normal so we can all maybe go experience it together. So things are good. We're trying to make the best of a tough situation.
That's awesome, man. We're gonna get back to content that we could recommend to our wrestling fans later on. But let's cut right to it. Tonight we're coming off the heels of the finish of the AEW Dynamite just ended. Pretty good show. Not bad. Not the greatest, but pretty good. And we're going to start by talking about the first match. We're going to jump right into it. We had Joey Janela versus Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes winning by pinfall versus with the finishing move, the Crossroads. What did you guys think of this match?
I thought it was good. I mean, Joey Janela is a workhorse, man. I really enjoy watching his matches. In the very beginning, I didn't think I would, because again, just like Havoc, he comes from a garbage wrestling background that I don't 100% enjoy. But like I've seen him wrestle Kenny and all these other guys, and he's a good wrestler, man. And he's well liked and relatable. I mean, he's not overly muscle bound, so I always relate to guys kind of my build. And I'm not the most I'm not the hulkish guy here. So
really?
Watching him, yes, really. Like I said, Cody and Joey Janela put on a clinic of a wrestling match. Again, this was wrestling that we were watching tonight, a pro wrestling, not entertainment. And they did a good job. And there was one spot that just had me just shuddering is when he did the top rope move and he kind of slipped off. I was just like, oh, please don't break your neck. And I think a lot of times when you watch these matches with Joey Janela, you're always saying, please don't kill Joey Janela. And thankfully he survives most of the time. And like I said, the finish was out of nowhere. And I think in a match like this, it should have been. It was still competitive, and that's one of the things I enjoy about AEW. We all know who was going to win. I say this every week, but it was still competitive enough to suspend belief for the moment.
Randy?
Yeah, and just a different perspective, too, from what Em was saying with this match. One of the things I like about Cody is he's able to go in the ring with guys and not only have stellar matches, he's able to have different types of matches. He was able to do it against Darby. He was able to do it with Jericho. He was able to do it with all the different types of talents they have on the roster. And like he said, I never had got to see Joey Janela fight until I saw him against Moxley when we were watching Fighter Fest.
Fighter Fest, yeah.
And I thought he was just more of a hardcore guy, but he can have good matches. He's a good workhorse. He's never going to be that top guy. Now that they're making a second tier title, he's always going to be one of those guys who's like in the contention for that type of level of championship. I thought this match was exactly what they needed to come off as far as a live show after having weeks and weeks of a lot of preliminary matches and squash matches with guys that we've never really even heard of before. So I think this was the right type of match to start the show with. For the second week in a row, Cody is opening up the show and having a stellar match that makes you want to not want to change over to the other station, put the remote on the table, and just watch some good old-fashioned pro wrestling.
Cody Rhodes has opened up quite a bit of AEWs. One of my favorites was him and Guevara, but yeah, Cody Rhodes definitely gets a lot of open matches, I've noticed.
Yeah, and that shows the amount of trust that they have in him, and the fact that he's learned a lot since he left WWE and wrestled in all these companies. He like Randy said, he can have a good match with a lot of these different styles. I mean, we saw it with Wardlow in a cage. We saw it with Darby. We saw it with Janela. There's just so many matches and so many different styles, and they all seem like he can have a quality match with these people. So if you're gonna have somebody open the show, I have no problem seeing Cody open it. And you also realize that he's also an executive in the back, so he has work to do while the show's going on. So we also have to remember that. That's a big reason why he's probably opening the show as well.
And I think there's another part of it too, which Wayne talked about a trust level, not only just with him in the ring, but it's also him with the other wrestlers as well. I think there's a lot of guys who want to work with Cody. Look, Wardlow, nobody had ever even really heard of him too much until he came to AEW, and his first match was with Cody in a cage.
Exactly.
Which was amazing. One of the things I think is very, very important when it comes to Cody is doing what's best for business. We always joke around with that little phrase, but we talked about eventually he'll find his way back into the title picture. I don't think he really wants to be champion. I don't think he really. There's a little piece of him that probably doesn't even want to be on camera. I think there's a little piece of him that just wants to be running things behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think he just wants to build up his product.
Yeah, I think if this organization was able to build and become a strong following and become a major staple, not just in wrestling, but as far as culture is concerned, and it meant him not being in front of the camera, I think he would do that because he wants to see this thing not just be a 2 or 3 year promotion. He wants to see it grow into a solid. Look, we all know WWE is just not wrestling; it's an entertainment company, but he wants us to be the solid number 2 wrestling promotion.
Alternative.
Yeah. He wants it to be the number 2, the alternative product to the WWE. And if he's willing to do that and solidify it by him sitting on the bench, he'll do it.
I don't know if you caught this on commentary today, and they said this, and it made me think. At some point, they said that Cody was talking. He's 35 now, and he was already talking about at the age of 40 retiring from wrestling. So who knows? Is that a possibility? Can he retire in 5 years, but make these guys the next stars of his company? I think.
I think
so. I think it's something that we should think about, and it's refreshing because they're actually trying to make stars, And you got Darby Allin, that one match where they went into a draw. That's how you make a star. You have to make not just one, but you have to make multiple stars. Somebody to fight somebody else that I want to watch. You can't just have somebody be on top and everybody just kind of run against the wall against them. That's not fun. If you have stars, then you got a product worth watching.
Let me ask you: if I said to you, give me 2 guys to put against Cody to try and build stars, who are the 2 guys?
I honestly couldn't even think about that at that, but there's so many guys with so much potential in AEW, and right now, I think they're doing a good job of building the guys they have, and we're going to see a slow simmer. You see Sammy, you see Darby; those are the next guys, and we'll see that in the coming months, and even in the coming years, I think.
I'm sorry. Wait, I didn't want to jump in, but let me just give Em my two guys who I was thinking of. One would be Kip Saban, who I think can use that push. I think one solid good match with Cody can really help put him in the over the edge. And the other one, believe it or not, is Scorpio Sky. I think he's going to be a breakout star from SCU at some point. I think he can keep Daniels and Kazarian together. I know they were teasing that today, saying that all three guys might want to have singles aspirations. But I think Scorpio Sky and Cody Rhodes could probably tear the house down.
Agreed.
Oh my God! Really?
Moving on, the next match we had Nyla Rose versus the debut Kenzie Page. We won't spend too much time here, but I thought Tony was going to be getting his butt kicked tonight. We saw Nyla wins with the Beast Bomb, her first return in about maybe close to 8 weeks or so, or last time on TV. But we're going to jump right into the topic of the women's division. All right. So, well, my original question was before everything was kind of like unfolding was who do you guys see as upcoming contenders for the AEW women's title? So later in the night, my question was actually answered for you guys. It was announced there would be a 4-way match: Britt Baker versus Sheeta versus Statlander versus Penelope Ford. Out of these 4, who do you think should be the number 1 contender? And then my second question is, how do you get the title off of Nyla Rose?
Oh my God! I have one answer to both questions, and that's Sheeta Hikaru. She's a great wrestler, and in my opinion, should have been the first women's champion. I don't know why that happened. It looked like maybe Sheeta had previous engagements in Japan that she had to finish up before she came to the U.S. Because she moved here full time to be part of AEW. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think that she's going to take it from Nyla Rose eventually. I don't know if it's going to happen as soon as Revolution. Oh, no, actually Double or Nothing. But I do see her taking the title at some point.
I need to see some kind of build with Sheeta or any one of these women before I'm convinced that Nyla is going to drop the title. We haven't seen Sheeta that much in recent weeks. So I feel like we need like a good couple, like 1 to 2 months of just a nonstop build of racking up wins, a little momentum to make it believable that Nyla can lose to Sheeta or whoever they're trying to push.
Well, in the first couple of weeks when it was taped, we did see a lot of Sheeta, and then the last couple of weeks she kind of just disappeared. We don't know if they recorded more matches with her or if they just ran out of footage. But it seemed like that was the way they were going. I believe she's in the top spot at the moment. So she's probably going to be the contender if she wins next week's match. I think, like I said, that's got to be the next person. I don't see out of everyone that's wrestling next week, I don't see anybody there that's going to take on Nyla. I don't see Chris Statlander doing it again.
No, because Statlander hasn't been. She hasn't wrestled on TV in many weeks. It's felt like since kind of dropped off.
She was Revolution was the last time, I think.
Yeah, and this is going on about at least 6 weeks now.
Yeah, so Sheeta has been there, and Britt Baker. So it could be a toss up between those two, but I'm guessing since Nyla is the heel, we'd want to see a heel versus face match, and that's Hikaru. What do you think?
And also, like I was about to say too, I think when you put the belt on Nyla Rose, and I remember Em and I had this conversation too. I think when you put the unstoppable monster over and put her as the champion, whoever is going to take the title has to be big. It has to be a big, big thing. And you're now trying to book a show 2 weeks away. Again, the situation that we're in right now with everyone social distancing, no fans and everything, and a lot of the wrestlers were not available. A lot of the ladies were not available over the last few weeks. You now have to build a program and try to make someone look like they're going to be a threat to Nyla Rose in 2 weeks, which is going to be a very, very, very difficult thing to do. I like Chris Statlander. I think I know Em and I always joke around about it, but I think she's the closest one who can do it. I think they sort of, in my eyes, they wrote themselves into a corner. They booked themselves into a corner by putting the belt on her the way they did. They crushed Little Rio and she hasn't been seen since. And I think that at this point in time, with Nyla Rose being the unbeatable champion, I think it's going to have to be a real special thing. Britt Baker is finally getting over as a heel, as the quote unquote role model. We haven't heard much of Penelope Ford to really put her as a threat. We don't really know what she can do much in the ring and what she can do on the microphone to validate her being a top contender. So if you look at all of them, I still like Stratlander. I think she was over with the fans. I think they having her lose to Rio and then also to Nyla Rose was a mistake because it stopped a lot of momentum that she did have at the time.
But on that note, I do see why they did that. She seems still a little green when it comes to wrestling in front of a TV camera. So I think that was one of the factors. And maybe, from my knowledge, they write these stories out months and months ahead of time. So they have storylines for a whole year. So maybe it wasn't her time yet. But like I said earlier, Hikaru Shida has been on TV. She has had wins on both Dark and Dynamite. I fully see a 100% positive that she will win this match next week and become the number one contender. You have how many weeks till Double or Nothing?
They have 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right?
2.5 weeks.
So 2.5 weeks, you have a lot of work to do to make us care about this match. Can they do it? I think so. Like I said last time, she has had matches, and they can make a great video package to kind of make us care again. People were behind her. I fully see it happening. Double or Nothing. I'm telling you right now. Double or Nothing. Hikaru and Nyla Rose.
It looks like that's where it's going. I mean, AEW has been more behind Britt Baker than anything right now. I'm just not too sure if it makes sense to put Britt Baker in this spot.
Not yet.
Given where they are in their storylines, their characters, and I would hate to see that momentum for Britt Baker squashed this quick.
Exactly, because you have to have Nyla keep the belt and have a couple of title defenses. You can't just have her come in and win it, and after one title defense, lose it. So I fully expect her to retain, but I expect Hikaru Shida to take it eventually. I don't think it'll happen. Maybe in all out, maybe after All Out. But
yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I definitely see that as the end result.
Yeah, and the other thing with that, like you just said, you have to have the champion defend the belt. I think that's been the biggest problem with wrestling over the last few years. Is you'll see guys and girls win the belt in like January, and by March, without really making too many title defenses, they take the belt right off. You have to build some legitimacy into your champions and into the championship. And I think Nyla Rose should be the champion until maybe like September to help. At least. Yeah, so to help her credibility. We also have to see where we are in the landscape of it too, because I think some of these promotions are looking for that happy ending in certain situations where they want to see the fans go home happy in certain situations. So maybe having somebody overcome the obstacles of beating the unbeatable beast in that situation. But I don't see her. I think they'll keep the title on her for at least a little while. I would like to fully till September in my eyes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Moving on, we had the MJF promo.
That's your guy, man.
He was going to make his appearance. He is a fellow Long Islander, so I can't hate on him too much. I love what he's doing.
Me too.
The depiction of him on the throne tonight was pretty cool. It is clear to me that there is going to be a title match or some kind of build to a title match for MJF in the future. I would say maybe around the summertime or a little bit after that. They're definitely planting the seeds of that. Later announced in the show, MJF will be against Jungle Boy at Double or Nothing. He didn't seem too happy about that. But what did you guys think of the MJF storyline tonight?
MJF is a character, man. I mean, he really lives it, and he's
a typical Long Islander.
Exactly, it's hard to hate him, but you have to, like, the things that he does, the things that he says. I mean, whipping Cody the way he did, you can't get behind that. So I think his character is a little bit genius, and it's tailor made for today's fans, because today's fans kind of gravitate toward the heels. They're cool, you know, they're more entertaining. You can't gravitate to this guy. It's like you will be a jerk if you like all the things that he does, you know?
Well,
So
him and I
this
are alike.
What happened?
Him and I are alike. We have the same Long Island blood, you know. We're both from New
Salt of the
York,
earth?
so I connect with him very well. I'm probably a much nicer of a person, but I do connect with him very well.
Yeah, I do think you're a nicer version of him. But I haven't seen you whip anybody yet. But I mean, if Randy keeps interrupting, maybe that'll happen tonight, huh?
I'm like the government mule.
I was going to say I haven't interrupted anybody tonight, but that's okay. MJF, I love the old school heelish attitude that he has, where he's like he's in character 24/7. He's kayfabing the whole entire thing. The thing that makes it amazing is if he can stick with it. He's only 24 years old. Just imagine. I don't.
He will stick with it. He ain't going nowhere.
I don't want to see him win a championship for a little while. But I tell you, man, like he's not even scratching the surface on how good he can be. And what I'm hoping is, and M will know what I mean by this. I hope he takes the Shawn Michaels type of attitude, where like maybe he can do one of those little talk show things in the ring too, and keep being over as a heel. And when he does wrestle, it'll make it more special. If he's not a guy you want to throw in the ring every single week. You want to have him involved with a major storyline, have him on the microphone, and then when he does wrestle, it makes it a little bit more special because it's going to be more can't miss type of thing with MJF possibly in the ring.
I have one counter to what you just said, because you said my wrestling god, right? Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
I can't agree that he should do anything like Shawn Michaels. If anything, he should be the guy that you want to see get beat up. And he's going to be the guy. Yeah, he'll be the guy that finds every escape. And then the moment that he does get beat up, that's the payoff. I think that's what they're going with in this scenario and with his character, because he's just it's so easy to dislike him.
Well, no, but with the Shawn Michaels thing, I'm sorry about that. What I meant by that is like not be like Shawn Michaels in that sense, but more of the like when after the ladder match against Razor Ramon, he was more of a guy who hosted the Heartbreak Hotel. He was like a manager to Diesel, and then when you saw him in the ring, it was a little bit more special. He was irritating. You wanted to punch him. I'm not saying a parallel with Shawn Michaels. I'm just saying.
No. I knew that's what you meant, but what I'm saying is don't do any type of talk shows, because those. We see so many talk shows, so many wrestlers with talk shows. That's the last thing I want to see, I think, for the rest of my life. And no wrestler talk shows, please.
But MJF does it pretty good, though.
He does, but I still don't want to see him do a talk show.
You know what I always say? You know what I always say? If he's going to do the talk show, fine, but eliminate the overexposure.
Exactly, and I think that's what happens when they have a talk show, is that you see it every week. And then with today's social media, not only will you see it every week, you'll see it on every feed. So I think keep it special, keep them coming out with Wardlow. Like Randy said, have Wardlow do most of the wrestling, and then finally you get to the boss character, which would be MJF, and you beat him eventually. And I think that's the direction that they're going. I really hope so, because that makes a better storyline. It's more compelling, and I think that'll suck people in. I mean, you want to see after he whipped Cody. Tell me you didn't want to see that match.
Oh, I couldn't wait. Yeah,
exactly. So that's how you do it. And how do you win it? It was cheap. I mean, he got beat most of the match, and then he escapes with the victory. That's how you do it. That's how to be a chicken heel.
Moving on, the next segment features Shawn Spears shooting on Cody. So we're going back to Cody. We're not going to talk about the Cody versus Archer yet. We will get there. But we see Shawn Spears shooting on Cody, disagrees with how Cody handled not protecting his brother last week. I believe this is going to lead to Shawn Spears Cody Rhodes match. possibly at a future Dynamite after the next pay-per-view. What will be on the line, we don't know yet. But it looks like that this is where they're going. What'd you guys think of this really quick?
I'm actually starting to believe that Cody might win this thing. With everything that's going on, you see Shawn Spears do this promo, and you also have MJF waiting in the wings. So if there's ever a time to put that title on MJF without him actually having to go through this tournament, then I guess you would have to put it on Cody. It's unfortunate because I my pick is Archer, but it's starting to look like Cody might take this.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. Like, it makes you feel like they're pushing a little bit more towards Cody. I think Shawn Spears has been one of the most underutilized guys in AEW. He left WWE as Ty Dillinger coming over. I like Spears. I think that he's at a point where he needs something or he's got to go, because you put him with Tully. We barely saw him on Dynamite for God knows how many weeks. He's still a talented guy. I think he's got something to contribute. For him, I think it's time to put up or shut up and be part of the show and find a way to make himself a little bit more relevant out there. Getting involved with this way, we've already saw him with Cody back at I believe it was Fight of the Fallen, right? Correct.
Fight for Fallen, yeah.
Yeah. So
Fight for the Fallen, and then we saw him in this tournament.
Right, and we saw him in this tournament. So we just haven't seen that much of him. And we don't know what the situation, obviously, with people not be making tapings and what's going on with Tully. Is Tully still his manager? Originally, he was looking for a tag team partner for God knows how long.
Exactly.
So now is a time for Shawn Spears to sort of find his footing and make a difference in AEW, because with all these WWE releases and guys might be coming over, being rumored, he can really get lost in the shuffle now and maybe not be a part of the show at all. So he needs to become more relevant. And I thought he cut a great promo. And I thought with the situation with Archer and Dustin Rhodes last week with doing the Rocky thing, I just thought it was great TV. And I think that if they're going to give it to Cody, putting Spears involved in that situation would be a great boost for him.
Yeah, I think this would be very good for Shawn Spears, because one, he'll get a little bit of a rub, since it would be a fairly relevant feud. And then also Shawn Spears is digging into pretty much digging into the personal lives of what's going on with Dustin and Cody, and really making it personal, the way he was attacking Cody in that promo. So I'm thinking that this might work for him, at least for the short term, making him a little more relevant. I think this is a good spot having him go against Cody. Should that match happen, and I believe that will within a few weeks, I would imagine.
And I have one prediction, because I've seen them together a lot lately, and he's been looking for a tag team partner. Who's to say that MJF isn't that tag team partner? They're constantly betting, and actually they teamed up for one match on Dynamite, remember? Who knows? That can be something going forward, and then that will bleed into the whole Cody versus Shawn versus MJF down the line. I think that could be a possibility, and that's definitely something they should explore.
Absolutely. Following segment, we have SCU is back on TV. We haven't seen them. That's another group we haven't seen in close to 2 months.
That's Randy's group.
Let me take a little. I'm going to take a little sidestep really quick. There was reports coming out of Florida that they're allowed to allow fans at a certain capacity. So I noticed that there were more people in the building. Obviously, not a full crowd. I don't even think it even cracked the 2% of capacity, but yeah, I feel like there was about 30, 40 people in the stands, just adding to the effects, cheering these matches on, as a result of the announcement that's been made. I'm assuming that this is why we saw more wrestlers tonight that we haven't seen in a while. But yeah, SCU is back. We got a match, Moxley versus Kazarian. Great match. Moxley wins with the paradigm shift. But before we go any further about that, what did you guys think of the match itself?
The match was good. It was slow and methodical for the most part. I think they were trying to show a lot of the mat skills, and then it went into the whole, I'm gonna punch you in the face, and you're gonna punch me in the face, and you're gonna clothesline me, and so they had a very basic match. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. They pulled a couple of moves here and there, but overall, it was a very basic match, and I think that one of the reasons why we saw a match like that was these guys haven't wrestled in months. I think the last time we saw them was in the beginning of March. So I think that there's a little bit of rust there. They didn't seem as polished to me personally. And I think they just kept this slow, kept it simple to try to just get through it. And I mean, it was watchable. It was entertaining, but it wasn't what they're capable of. I've seen them wrestle other people. It's either that or they just didn't have good chemistry, and I refuse to believe that because I did see sparks of it there. I think it was just let's warm up before we get to the pay-per-view in a couple of weeks. What do you think, Randy?
I agree with you totally. I felt like it was the way the match was sort of mapped out a little bit. It was more obviously it was a Moxley match, but because Moxley always finds a way to help let his dancing partner shine. Kazarian has always been a great talent all the way back to his TNA Impact Wrestling days. Always enjoying his work with SCU, and like we were just talking about with Nyla Rose, you have 2 weeks to build a pay-per-view. And a couple weeks ago, Moxley had that empty arena match with Hager. What's next for Moxley? Because obviously, they want to wait to have a crowd there before they have that rematch with Jericho.
Oh, we will get there in a second, but keep going.
Yeah. So we're looking at this whole entire thing with Kazarian and Moxley. I had no problem with the match. It was exactly what it needed to be.
Exactly.
It was an opportunity to showcase Kazarian as a singles guy. That at the end, the champion's still going to find a way to pull it out. And then at the end of the day, obviously, we'll talk about the aftermath. I know Wayne is going to segue into that right now. But I had no problem with this match. I think it was exactly what the doctor ordered. And like what Em said, too, you have to work off a certain amount of rust because everything that we've seen over the last month on TV has been pre-recorded for literally about a month and a half.
Exactly. And those two guys weren't there. I mean, Moxley had that one match, the arena match, but that was it. We haven't seen him.
Yeah, we haven't seen him. He's just been doing pre-tape promos, and that's it. And I gotta ask you guys this too: Moxley as the champion. I know eventually you had to get the belt off of Jericho because he was going on tour. I don't know the status of that at this point.
He's postponed.
Everything's postponed. But
Yeah.
like, my question to you is: has he become a guy who is an attraction without the title? Can he be a key guy in that organization without having the championship? Is the title a necessity for him?
Who, Jericho?
No, for Moxley.
Moxley, no, he doesn't need the title at all. I mean, I think I liked him better without the title. He looked hungrier, more aggressive, and I think that's what happens to some of these characters and some of these wrestlers. They get the title and they seem to lose that steam that they had chasing it. Sometimes the chase is better than the actual capture. But we got, as Wayne will get to us to it, the ending of this match.
Yeah, that was something, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Moxley wins with the paradigm shift, and then moving on, we see the Dark Order attacking John Moxley. And SCU came in, and it was little help. It was basically 7-on-3. Brody Lee hits that discus lariat on John Moxley. Then he cuts a little promo. We see a promo. He sounded pretty good tonight. He says he's not. So a little WWE reference here. He says he is not the same person that looked him in the eye in the past.
Yes.
As we know, we had Wyatt family versus the Shields.
Oh, God,
They are very, very familiar with each other. He goes on and saying that he is a leader now. In WWE, he was a follower. He says he wants and he desires and needs the AEW title. Moxley then gets up and says, all you had to do was just ask, which I thought was pretty cool. And then Moxley then eats the boot in the face from Brody Lee. Then Dark Order just attacks Moxley again. What did you guys think of this whole melee?
I loved it. I think this is exactly what needed to happen. And again, we have 2.5 weeks to set up a pay-per-view. It has to be hard-hitting, and it has to be engaging. And I think that's exactly what it was tonight. I mean, that kick to the face, I think I felt it. And then he takes his title. He's like, you don't need this. This is it's coming with me. He took the man's world title. So I thought that was really cool. And again, it's another layer to this story. Story that actually really needs it. Again, 2 weeks is not a lot of time, so you got to spice it up. I have no problem with them spicing it up like this. There's sometimes when in wrestling we oversaturate the story. This is one of those times where you actually have to add those ingredients, and I think, like I said, the AEW is in good hands so far. I've liked more than I've disliked, and this is another example. It's like we have 2.5 weeks. Let's ramp this up quickly.
AEW has been rolling very well since the beginning of the year. The first couple months, I guess they were just trying to figure it out, but
yeah, they were finding,
and I wasn't really connecting very well. But come New Year, everything, the storytelling got better, and just the way they do things. It's improvement. I want to watch every Wednesday.
Yeah, Tony Khan has more input this year than he did last year, so that might be one of the reasons why. Because I don't know if he was timid or what in the very beginning, but it seems that he's found more leadership this year. It's like, listen, I kind of wanted it to go this way, so he's throwing his input in there. He's still not telling everybody what to do, but there's definitely more input from him, and I think he's a fan just like us, so we benefit when he has a little more control over the product, because he knows what we like.
And not only that too, going back with the Brody Lee, Jon Moxley, I also think it's also a safe match to have, because you have two guys who work together, not only like with the Y family versus the Shield, but they also had one-on-one matches together. So they're comfortable with each other. And so in a situation where you only have 2 weeks to build a match, it's better to have two guys who have a comfort level with each other to go out there in this situation, since they don't have the time to sort of feel it out. And
exactly. That's a great point.
And the other part of that too is, you have guys who've been released by WWE, a guy like Rowan, who can find a way into this. You know what I mean? There's guys that they
maybe.
There's also guys who they already have there. Like, we haven't seen Uno in how many weeks? We haven't seen the key members of the Dark Order in many weeks. So this might be an opportunity for Moxley to also help build and some of these younger guys who just aren't as household names.
And they looks like they've always had big plans for the Dark Order. I mean, from the very beginning, they won the bye for the tag team tournament. Yep. Back then I vehemently hated that. I was so against it, but they are sticking with it. And again, these storylines were written a year in advance. So I'm Tony and his company has earned my trust.
Yep.
So I'm actually looking forward to where it's going. I used to tell people this, especially in the very beginning of the year with the whole Dark Order thing. It's like, I kind of want to see where this is going. Right now, it's not connecting, but I feel at some point it will. And I think bringing Brody Lee was the perfect choice. From what I hear, they wanted to bring in Marty to be the Exalted One, but obviously he re-signed with Ring of Honor. But Brody seems a more appropriate candidate for being the Exalted One.
I think Brody and Moxley are gonna have a great match. It was announced that they will be. It's confirmed now. AEW title on the line at Double or Nothing, and we are seeing it as the title match. I think we're going to see a great match with Jon Moxley by the skin of his teeth, escaping with the AEW title. Maybe setting something up. Maybe setting something up for the future. So that's the way I see it as far as the short term goes. Moving on, Lance Archer versus QT Marshall. QT Marshall, in my opinion, I think is viewed as a good hand, so to speak. But he can work. He's good. So does Lance Archer need Jake the Snake out there? First off, before what we saw tonight, does Jake need to be out there as his manager? I feel like Lance can be out there independently.
Yeah, I think it's getting to that point. But then again, we've seen Lance these last couple of weeks be by himself. So in the very beginning, Jake brought him out. But after seeing him through this whole tournament wrestle without Jake by his side, it's starting to look like he doesn't need him. But again, there's a reason he's there. And I'm pretty sure something is going to pop up to make us appreciate the fact that he's still around. And again, Jake is a great talker. And Lance, I don't know if you know this, but Lance Archer is a hell of a talker as well. So I always thought it was weird that they paired him up with Jake. But they have their reason, but one of the things that I do enjoy is the fact that Jake isn't really overshadowing Lance. He talks, but Lance is just physical and overbearing. His presence is something special. I mean, he's just beating up people in the audience. I mean, he's done this since New Japan. It's great, and again, the dude's a monster, and I truthfully want him to win the title. I don't think so now, but I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. So we see Lance Archer wins with the EBD claw. They go on to emphasize that he's 5-0 in AEW. So they pointed out that he's undefeated. Now, during this match, Randy, I'm going to give this one to you so we can move it along. We see a little development. Now we have some congruent storylines going on now, which other organizations kind of failing to do right now. Anyway, we see Britt Baker. She gets in a picture. She attacks Brandy Rhodes, which I think is going to set up Britt Baker's next feud. Throws Brandy in the ring, and then we see Jake the Snake come in with this snake, and honestly, this was a little bit. I don't know. I was a little surprised, a little small shock factor. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" We see the snake slithering all over Brandy Rhodes. I mean, all over. But we won't talk about that as this is a PG show. Moving on, we see Jake the Snake hover and doing push-ups over Brandy in a very distasteful way. Jake the Snake, he looked like a very good heel here. He hasn't lost his heel ability, I'll tell you that much.
Can I tell you, when clean and sober, find me a better character and a better mind in the business than Jake the Snake Roberts. Thank you, Diamond Dallas Page. That's all I have to say, because since he's returned to wrestling, he has captivated all of us by the way he talks and by the way he's able to make you want to care what this crazy old man is saying. And man, this was one of those segments. My girlfriend and I were sitting there watching that segment together. She's like, "Oh my god, that's like a real snake." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a real snake." And I'm like, we haven't seen this in quite a few years.
I was thinking to myself, "Oh, please don't let that snake bite."
Yeah.
I hope that snake doesn't bite.
Look, I think what makes it really interesting is, Em made a very good point. Archer can talk, and Archer doesn't really need Jake, but I think it adds another dimension. Like when CM Punk had Paul Heyman as his manager, he didn't need Paul Heyman as his manager, but man, it just added that. It was like that little garnish on the steak. You know what I mean? I think Archer is set up for big things with this company, and I think Jake just adds so much more to it. And I would like to see more guys work with Jake, and I hope some of these younger guys behind the scenes are working with Jake on their promos and all that other stuff, because man, he's something else. And I think this segment is perfect to help put more gasoline on the fire. This has been the only storyline that has gone on through this whole entire thing, this Archer and Cody Rhodes thing. So this has been the only one. So they need to have something that's really going to draw fans to want to buy the show. So I think this is the one. And man, Jake really knows how to put some gasoline on the fire, man, doesn't he?
You know what? That was a great segment today. It made me pop for many reasons. But now let's tie this Cody Rhodes versus Archer with a bow. Okay. So now we finally got to it. The TNT tournament final will be at Double or Nothing in just 2.5 weeks. And we're going to have Cody Rhodes versus Archer. Now we have all these components going on. We have Brandy involved. We have Jake the Snake involved. I expect there's going to be shenanigans somewhere along the way. But in the end, I don't know what you guys think. I still have Archer taking the win here. I feel it's too early for him to lose. I have to stick with Archer on this one. You already have the seeds planted with Shawn Spears. He can be a factor in this match by costing Cody Rhodes, and you can further set up that program, and it still wouldn't hurt Cody. It wouldn't hurt anybody, and then Archer would still benefit. He's the new guy. He's only had 5 matches on TV. I do not think that he should take the loss this soon, and not for nothing, in my opinion, Archer is shining right now.
I agree that Archer's shining. One thing is we can't have one of those run-in victories because it will take the shine off of Archer. So if Archer's going over, he's got to go over dominantly. You know, it could be a competitive contest, but he has to win in such an emphatic fashion with such an exclamation point to really cement Archer as the next champion or the inaugural champion for the TNT title. If Cody wins, then we know that he's the vehicle to get that title to MJF at some point. But if Archer wins, it's got to be dominant.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I wouldn't also be shocked to see, because of Jake the Snake's promo when he first came in, he said that he wanted to get his out of Cody Rhodes. Wouldn't be surprised if you see either Archer beat down Cody so badly where they have to stop the match, so it makes Cody still look like a hero in that sense, or he beats him up so bad where he doesn't want to stop, where they disqualify Archer and give the title to Cody. I know that's a cheap way of doing it, but it also gives Cody the whole "I'm the champion, but I don't know if I can really beat him" type of mentality.
I don't see a disqualification in a TNT tournament final match. I do not see that. There's
play a different color.
There's a pinfall or submission. I have to shoot that down right now.
Yeah, or that one I don't see happening on a pay-per-view.
Or the beatdown so badly where they have to stop the match and award it to Archer. That's one I could possibly see too.
Yeah, see, and that's the beauty of AEW so far, is that we can have these discussions and we don't know where the story's going. We don't know for sure how this is going to end. You know, it can end in any one of these scenarios, but it's less likely to end in the entertainment style we're used to. And I think that that's something that we fall into a lot, is that we've been fed this entertainment style for so long that we think, all right, maybe a disqualification, maybe somebody runs in. And that's cool for TV, but if I'm paying you, what is it, $60? I don't want to see that. And I will feel cheated, and I think that a lot of people feel that way. And that's the beauty of AEW so far, is that they've kept a lot of that to a minimum, so we don't have to expect it anymore. It isn't the status quo.
And you know what, M, that might very well happen. This match might be a fair match to the end, but I promise you there will be shenanigans going on.
Yeah, definitely shenanigans
revolving this. And come to think of it, I won't be surprised if they bring Jake the Snake Roberts takes Shawn Spears under his wing.
Exactly. Even that's a great that'd be kind of cool too, you know. But it would leave us with a question of what
Spears needs a mouthpiece.
He does.
Not the worst way, but he can benefit.
He does,
Yep.
but I still see him more with MJF, or maybe they can be a trio. For all we know, I mean, we have Death Triangle as a trio team, and
Your favorite.
there are there are some rumors saying that they might introduce a trios title at some point in the future. I personally don't want to see a trios title.
I don't know if I want to see it, but AEW is probably more built for it than anybody else. But I
Exactly.
don't think that's anything I really want to see.
I've seen trios in Ring of Honor. I've seen trios in New Japan, and like I tell Wayne all the time, there's so much influence from New
I
Japan.
mean, if this is going to be a 4-division trio thing, I don't want to see it. But if you give me 7, 8, 9 teams for trio contender, okay,
Exactly,
I'll give it a chance.
and
I
that's
don't
why I
want to see
say
it.
I personally don't want to see it. But if you have enough people at some point in time, instead of having them sit home like other companies, use them. A trios would be something useful for that, and you can also put it on dark. You can have those matches mean more. You'll see more title defenses, things like that. Personally, I don't want to see a trios, but again, that's one of the rumors that have been floating around for a while.
I've always hated the trio idea. I remember back in the day, like I'm showing my age now by saying, remember when WCW did it back in the early '90s, and I hated it then. I hate it now. I do like that whole thing where it's a trio and they're the tag team champions, and sometimes you don't know which two you're getting. I do like that method, but I never liked the trio idea, and I hope they don't do that. I think you're devaluing also by doing that. Also, you're also devaluing your tag team championship as well.
I don't agree with that because you do have a trio already. I mean, you have a couple of trios. You have SDU. You got three guys there. You got Death Triangle. You got three guys there.
Dark
You
Order,
got
Elite,
the Dark Order, the Best Friends.
Inner
You
Circle.
have a lot Inner Circle. You have a lot of trios.
They're built
So
for it.
it's possible. It's possible, and my only issue is that I don't enjoy those type of matches with the trios. But listen, they are immensely talented, and if they want to go that route, I think they will find a way to make it entertaining for us. Personally, again, I don't want it to happen, but I won't stop watching if it happens.
I know, but the thing is, though, if you have the trio thing, and the reason why I say devalues the tag team championship a little bit, because then I'm going to use the Best Friends for example. So let's say they win the trio title with Orange Cassidy. You're sort of handicapping them in a way where, okay, well, they're already the trio champion. Why would they want to go after the tag team championship if they're already the trio champion? I understand the prestige aspect of it, but but you're already labeling them and they're saying, okay, well, they're a trio. Me personally,
well, no, you got to see it. There's so many teams. You got these big factions, and that's the thing that we're not used to seeing in WWE. You don't have a lot of big factions. You have a lot of big factions in all these other companies, New Japan, Ring of Honor, and they make it work. There's tag teams, and it means more, and then you have the trios, which means a little less. It's like
I think you're right.
I find I can't compare it to anything because again we know mainstream wrestling is always WWE and they didn't do that, but in other companies it works, and other companies with a lot of guys, and you got to fill out a match card. These matches mean more than just having a bunch of 3-on-3s for no reason.
I agree. I'm going to agree with you. I think it's because you're right. Over the last, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years in WWE, they've kept the faction numbers so low. So anything that's been over 3 or 4 people, it's been like, wow. Remember the days where we used to have the Corporation and DX and the NWO and all these other things where there's all these different guys. I sort of loosen up on that stance a little bit that I just put out there, just because you're right. Because the way we've been fed everything for so long, it's making you believe us saying, well, maybe it's not a great idea because you're going to be labeled in that. But in that situation, you don't have to be labeled because of the faction.
It's a different world, man. There's a lot of wrestling out there. We digress. I'm sorry, Wayne. You're still on mute.
You're still on mute.
Thank you, guys. Moving on, just to corral it back to AEW Dynamite, we got a little bit more to talk about. We are approaching 11:30 at night for you guys that are listening, so we're going to try to keep this moving. But we have Omega and Matt Hardy's debut. We'll talk about this really quick versus Jericho and Sammy Guevara. We noticed that the match made its way outside of the ring into Jackson Jaguars Stadium. I believe it's called TIAA or something stadium. Nice little visual of Inner Circle standing tall with their graphic on the Jacksonville Jaguars billboard. Really quick, guys. What did you guys think of this match before we move on to our next topic?
It was fun. It was hard hitting. God, I thought Sammy died in that one spot with the goal card.
I thought they all died.
Yeah, I was sure of it. That one, I think I was just I text my son immediately. I was like, he's dead. You know that, right? And, it was a fun match, hard hitting. I'm not a huge fan of the street fight matches, but this one was entertaining and it kept my attention. So I had no problem with it, and the way it ended, again, no problem with it. I don't need it. I didn't need more than what they gave, and this is a good setup for whatever is going to come next week.
Randy?
I liked a lot of the details on this. First off, for someone that has Jericho's age to be doing some of the stuff that he's doing, unreal in my eyes.
I think you're starting to slim down a little bit, by the way.
He is. I've been saying that.
Yeah, he's looking a lot better. One of the things that I thought was really, really cool was the different outfit changes of Matt Hardy. I thought that was really, really, really cool and very, very
Mankind.
Yeah, you had to notice those little things. I thought, like you guys just said, I thought it was cool, and I think that the Inner Circle sort of needed this. I think they needed to get a big win, and they needed to be standing tall because it's been a long time since the Inner Circle has stood tall at the end of an episode of Dynamite. I'm also the one thing I really have not been a fan of, obviously because of a lot of the tape matches, but I think they're starting to separate Kenny and Hangman way too long now. I think there's got to be.
I'm almost beginning. I forgot they were tag team. I forgot that they were AEW tag team titles.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a symptom of what's going on, though. It's Tony Khan. He's
absolutely.
He's not going to force anybody to come back before they're ready. Apparently, they even mentioned that during the broadcast, the young bucks aren't ready to come back. They have young children. They have a lot of people in their house. They're doing the whole social distancing, and they also mentioned the reason that Kenny is with Matt today is because Hangman is doing the social distancing. They didn't really get into that too much, but obviously that's something that we have to take a look at. It sucks. This is the climate that we're in. Yeah. I wish he was there because I was really excited for that heel turn. I was sure it was coming any minute now.
Yeah, it was very, very good. The match was stellar. The match was exactly what you needed. And look, anytime Kenny Omega is out there, and this could have been a better debut in the ring for AEW for Matt Hardy. He probably could have gone.
He looks good.
Yeah, give him a win over like Kip Saban or someone. I don't know. But at the same time, it's exactly what you needed, and you can't have Omega come out there and win every single week.
Exactly.
So I was okay. I was okay with this, and Em and I have talked about this to the death. You can't, if you're the Inner Circle, you can't have Sammy keep jobbing to everybody. He can't be the one to fall for everybody. So he needed to get a win in this situation, even if he wasn't involved in the pinfall. And I'm just saying in general, but so he needed a win too. So I had no problem with this.
That eventually we are going to get that match, Inner Circle versus the Elite.
Yep.
Somehow, some way, they're going to keep these guys continuously intertwined somehow. We will see a blood and guts match.
Exactly.
That is happening. Unless Cody can buy the rights of the War Games match that he's always wanted, the rights to use that that name. But that's a topic for another day. But that's where they're heading. They're heading, and more than likely, it makes sense just to keep Matt Hardy involved at this point.
Yeah, definitely, and we don't see the Young Bucks and Hangman coming back anytime soon, at least for another month. So it's a good way to put Matt in, and this tonight has the storyline continue. You know, the elite versus the inner circle. So I expect something big at the pay-per-view. I'm not sure what they're gonna do though.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
Yeah.
this was a nice way to like really have the
Well,
heels.
you know what? I think we're probably going to finally get that. Not finally. I mean, it's not like we waited long, but it looks like we're probably going to get Matt Hardy versus Chris Jericho. I would fully expect that to happen. What kind of match we get, I'm not too sure, but I think we're going to get that.
And I have no problem watching that. That's something that, again, you want my money, that's something I'll pay for.
And
So as announced tonight, next week, we have a pretty big AEW show.
Yes.
I'll run through it really fast. We're not even going to talk about any of it, just to build the awareness of whoever may be watching or listening over the next few days. We're going to have Brody Lee against Christopher Daniels, which should be awesome. We will finally see the in-ring return of MJF, my Long Island boy. Jurassic Express versus the Best Friends. I'm looking for these guys to tear it up. And we're going to have a segment with Lance Archer and Jake the Snake. They're going to further build up this TNT title match. We're getting that women's four-way match next week. Chris Jericho will be in action against Pineapple Pete. So we're getting a payoff there for all the shenanigans Chris Jericho has been talking and ripping on Pineapple Pete all these weeks. So maybe Pineapple Pete will get his revenge. Who knows? Maybe we get a surprise win. We'll see what happens. Our last topic that we're going to talk about really quick is a topic that's kind of made headlines throughout the through all the wrestling websites. Does WWE sell? There is rumors that quite possibly Vince McMahon could sell WWE to ESPN and Fox, which is under the umbrella of Disney, to my understanding. There has been reports of Kevin Dunn selling his shares, which is not the first time he's sold shares. He's sold shares many times in the past. So is Triple H and Stephanie. They've sold their shares time and time after for however much money. Who knows? But could something be brewing for WWE? Does Vince McMahon sell, or will he stay stubborn and keep his promotion going and pass it down to Triple H and Stephanie? What do you guys think?
Randy, I think you can take this one first.
I think with the latest news of all those lawsuits from the stocks and everything else like that, and look, Vince McMahon's 70-something years old. There's going to be a point where the guy's going to want to just, retire on a beach somewhere. My God, like, do I think if he sells to Disney, then Disney just owns everything? It's just pretty much, what's gonna happen next.
Wait, all we're gonna see is a bunch of Mickey Mouses running in the ring.
Yeah,
like don't have enough of them already, especially on SmackDown.
Listen, can you imagine first WWE gets sold, then this podcast? We're all going to be working for Disney soon by doing these podcasts for Disney. M's going to be working for Disney. This is something I've been waiting for my whole entire life.
And just think, with you may have to be an eventual subscriber to Disney Plus in order to get WWE content.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. Like, if there's ever been a time as bad as the WWE product has been over the last 2 years, 3 years, their value right now is high enough where Disney would be interested in purchasing it. But that's, to me, is the more amazing. We wouldn't have had this conversation back in 2000, 2001, 2002. This is something.
Oh no.
But so to me, I think if there's ever been an exit strategy for Vince, I think right now if he walks away with egg on his face, because the XFL failed, and his numbers have been the lowest it's been since the Hogan era, right? Like the latter part of the Hogan era, 93, 94, where the numbers were just in the toilet. So this is the lowest point that this company's had from TV ratings and the way the product has been, but from an overall entertainment value and what the company's been built to, it's never been at a point where if Vince wanted to just have a good exit strategy to walk away, now is the time to do it. It would walk away from all the lawsuits. He'd walk away from all the craziness with the XFL, and he'd be, obviously they would retain Triple H and Stephanie to help run everything and keep things in place the way it was when Vince was there. But this is a great exit strategy for Vince if he decided to do it. Do I think he will? Most likely not. This is still his baby. I still think he's going to die in the chair someday.
I think it should stay in the family. If there's a way to do that, I think it should stay in the family and have smarter minds and people who are more in tune into wrestling, to help raise the numbers again, help make the product better again while keeping it entertaining at the same time.
Yeah, but the one thing you're missing with that, Wayne, is AEW, ROH, Impact Wrestling are wrestling companies that are on TV, whereas WWE has become an entertainment company. They're not worried as much about the pro wrestling as they are about the licensing of their products, as they're about making toys, about releasing all these different things, about having their own movie studios where they can take their wrestlers and put them in B level movies. Their main concern is not as much about the wrestling as it is the overall package. If someone got in trouble, they cut ties with them immediately instead of trying to work their way through it. Look at all the releases of all these guys over the last couple weeks. There were some pretty talented guys they let go.
There is, but some of those guys either wanted out or they just weren't being used.
Well, like look at the Revival or the Revolt.
Wanted out.
Yeah, they wanted out. They've been wanting out since last January. I listened to their interview on Talk Is Jericho today.
Oh, I gotta hear that today. Yeah, I gotta hear
that. It's something. And look at a guy like Rusev.
Rusev, he wanted out too.
Yeah, Rusev wanted out for a long time now too. So now,
and Zack Ryder was entertaining contract talks a couple of years ago before he had re-signed in 2016.
Zack Ryder is a guy who got over by himself against the company's wishes, and they buried him. So because he did not fall under the level that they have. Look, Rusev Day was the hottest thing in the beginning of 2018. The whole Royal Rumble match.
Rusev Day was over. I mean, I was walking the streets yelling Rusev Day every day.
He still does that. He walks down the street of Long Island. He just yells Rusev Day. Rusev Day.
Is that what I heard? I was walking down the street. I heard Rusev Day the other day. It must have been Wayne.
So, but that's what I'm saying. They take something, if it's not their idea, they want nothing to do with it. And whereas other wrestling companies want that attention enough where they're willing to take chances on these guys. WWE is an entertainment company. They're not a wrestling company anymore. They're an entertainment company that produces wrestling.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're 100% right. I don't see them selling. I think we discussed this last week.
I think Vince is kind of testing the waters, just to weigh out his options.
I think he might be testing the waters. I honestly think more it's a rights deal. Maybe he's selling the rights to pay-per-views. I just don't see Vince. He's too involved. This is his world. I think the moment he sells, if he were to sell, he'd just stop existing. This is what he does. The shows are written specifically for him as a viewer. This is why we don't enjoy it. But at the end of the day, this is what it is for him. And this is his whole universe. And I just don't see him giving that up, no matter how much money. And even if he gives it up, he's still being sued. That doesn't change anything. The lawsuits are against him specifically. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. But at the end of the day, I think it's more a rights issue. Maybe we're going to have to pay for WrestleMania, the big 4 pay-per-views. I think it'd be excessive if it's a monthly thing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, somebody in a group made a point numerous times to me in the past that quite possibly Fox could want to run WrestleMania on Fox 5, just like NFL does their Super Bowls.
And we'd have commercials. Can you imagine that? It's the WrestleMania commercials.
I think they would probably pump the brakes a little bit on the commercials, a little bit.
I don't think so, because that's how Fox makes its money. So if anything, it'd become like a Super Bowl thing, and that's also a possibility. So I think it's more rights. They're selling off the rights to pay-per-views and maybe some of their library. Maybe we'll see past pay-per-views on Fox or ESPN, but I don't think the company itself is for sale. I just don't see it. It's when the story is too big like that, it's just unbelievable to me. And at the end of the day, I think it's a little more, it's simpler. And we'll probably get an announcement soon saying, yeah, you're going to have to pay $60-$70 to watch WrestleMania from now on.
I'm somewhere in the middle, but I'm leaning more towards WWE not selling at this point, especially during this economic climate that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another factor to consider. Despite the fact, supposedly Dutch Mantel heard that WWE is going to be selling very soon, but that's just all chitter chatter.
Conjecture.
And he had mentioned around the timeline of middle of May, which, in my opinion,
next week.
That's basically anywhere between the middle of next week or what have you. So that should be interesting to see what's brewing. Vince McMahon is going to make the moves of what financially benefits him the most.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And if WWE scores a deal with Fox and ESPN, I would fully expect that their shares are going to jump from $41 a share instantly to 60, 70 within a week's time, and I would jump in on that WWE stock right away. But that's another conversation.
It's another podcast.
But I would keep your ears open. I think we may hear something soon. I'm just not too sure how accurate this is. Again, considering the economic climate that we're in, Disney has taken an economic hit by people not paying to go into their parks as well. So that's another thing to keep in consideration. ESPN is not running sporting events, loss of viewership. So there's a lot of different things to consider there.
Exactly. It's just not a believable climate.
Randy, starting with you, do we have any final thoughts for tonight?
I really enjoyed the show. I think that AEW is going to start getting back on track. And I think with some of the states being open, I think a lot of the, not just AEW, but I think WWE, ROH, and some of the other organizations are going to start looking at the states that are open and try to at least fill the arenas with 50% capacity just so they can start having the effect of having the crowd back to start testing what they can do. I think tonight was a good first step for AEW to start getting some of their normal talent back on the roster. And back in the ring, and I think AEW's product has been excellent. There's some of their tougher shows to watch. It's still been better than a lot of the other things that have been on television.
And they haven't had that many tough shows, really.
No. Like I think to me the only show that I remember watching that they had where I looked at the ending and I just left a bad taste in my mouth was that one where the Dark Order tried to beat everybody up, and then it was just one of those mishmash endings where you saw things just were not working the way it was supposed to. But if you can pinpoint the one or two negative things in something, and then there's a lot of that many more positives, then it's a great product. And one of the things that I told you, Wayne, and Em and I talk about this all the time, it's been a long time since we've been very, very excited about wrestling. It has nothing to do with the WWE. And I told you I wanted to do this with you guys. It's because I feel very passionate about this product. It's one of those things where I can't get enough of it, and it leaves you wanting more. Whereas some of the other programming, you couldn't wait for it to be over.
3 hours.
I have to tell you this much: I haven't even looked at SmackDown Live in 3 weeks, and that's not normal at all. I haven't looked at it since post WrestleMania.
2 years.
But SmackDown was good. They had a great run where Raw was pretty much down the toilet for a while, and SmackDown was basically where Raw should have been. They had great shows, and then suddenly the move to Fox, something clicked. Bischoff out, Pritchard in, and the SmackDown show steadily has gone down the drain. I mean, when you have Otis and Mandy as your best storyline every single Friday night, there is a problem there. And Roman Reigns is out. WWE won't even mention it. His name, they won't talk about it. They won't show him on TV. And then you got Daniel Bryan being underutilized in this spot. We know he's on the way out, so he could have his second kid. AEW at the right time is putting out a very good product, Randy. And it's they've kind of saved wrestling for the wrestling fans.
Yes, definitely.
I will have to give credit. Monday Night Raw has been a steadily good show. You guys hear me talk about it on Mondays. It's been better just because fresh content. But I'm sorry, Randy. Go on.
No, just I enjoy it. I can't get enough of that. And most important thing is, as a fan, it makes you happy, and it makes you want to talk about it with your friends. It makes you have that water cooler talk. And look, it brings us three, who we've all been really good friends for a long time. It gives us an opportunity to be public and share how much we enjoy this product. So I can't say it enough. And doing this with you, Wayne, who I've been friends with for a long time, and who
we're approaching our 19th anniversary soon, right around September.
Yeah, I think that's how long we've been friends for. It sounds a little weird saying it like that.
Hold on, let me rephrase that for those that are watching or listening. So, friend anniversary.
Yeah,
friend. That's a good one.
And M has had experience in the ring, and he's been such a good friend of mine, and for the last few years, and he's helped me see the light about good wrestling and bad wrestling. and the one thing that I'm really appreciative about with AEW too is, besides I'm excited too, is my life has changed in a way where I have two little wrestling fans in the house, and I'm explaining to them, like, don't watch the WWE, watch AEW for better action. You'll have to, might have to explain a couple things here and there, like don't say that, or you have to help understand this. But it's much better, and it's I'm glad it's being able to draw us all together too.
Em, how about you? Some final thoughts?
And I have to piggyback on what Randy says. I mean, this product brings a lot of passion out in you, and again, thanks to AEW, I always knew there were other companies out there, but I never really took the time to watch them. And here I find myself watching New Japan because of AEW. I mean, it's this 7-year anniversary of Bullet Club this year. So, I'm really excited about that. And most of these guys were in Bullet Club, and it brings out so much passion and the community that comes along with it. You guys know I run level 1 games in Pompton Plains, New Jersey, and I get guys that come in there specifically to talk wrestling with me. And we used to watch the wrestling shows on Wednesdays at the store all together. We would sit there and discuss it and dissect it, and that's how you have something special and something worth watching. It brings people together, and we can all sit there and agree and disagree and dissect, and we'll see it differently. Randy will have an opinion, I'll have an opinion. Somebody jumps on. Somebody will walk into the store as we're discussing it and jumps into the discussion. So I think it's something special, and it's something that brings communities together. And I feel like a kid again. This is how I felt when I first watched wrestling as a child with my dad. This is good stuff. This is stuff that makes you sit down and you're excited for Wednesdays at 8:00. You look forward to it the whole week. You talk to your friends about it. I call Randy, and Randy's like, "Yo, you ready for Wednesday?" This is what it's about, and it's a special feeling, and I think this is what we've been missing for so long. It's like that excitement and that passion, and it really shines through. I mean, the wrestlers they're all passionate about it, and the fans feed off of that, man. And when you love something, it comes through, and I think we enjoy it that much more for that fact that they're sitting there and they're actually getting to do what wrestlers do. They have more control, and they're happier. They're getting paid a good amount. So they don't feel screwed. And I'm in love with AEW, and I couldn't be happier with the direction it's going. And I'm really excited. And even though it's 2 weeks away, I'm already gearing up for Double or Nothing. I'm going to order it, and I'm going to watch it. Unfortunately, with this situation, I can't watch it. I would normally watch it with all my friends, but I will be sitting down on May 23rd to watch Double or Nothing. Definitely, they got my money already.
We have a lot of content coming up between the two companies, WWE and AEW. We have our Money in the Bank weekend. We will be doing a post show for that. So if you guys are listening, make sure you subscribe to YouTube first and foremost. So this way you can watch us live. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook at the Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast. And also, not to mention, we are available on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. So, Randy, I hope you guys have an awesome week. That is going to wrap up our show for this week. For those who are listening, we will be back this coming Monday for everybody. And be on the lookout. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for the Money in the Bank post show this Sunday night. Randy, you guys have an awesome night. Thank you so much for hopping on. Randy representing from Back Sports page, and representing Level 1 Games. Make sure you hit him up for any video game questions of what's the latest and greatest. And we will talk to you guys soon. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you again, Wayne.